Okay, what up guys? So it's Robin again. We'll be doing our Azure AZ-103 training for Module 7, Data Protection. So it has been a while, I think 2 weeks since my last video. So I was busy doing one of the Power BI training for one of the company's IT admin. It's been several training actually, one in Shanghai and Hong Kong as well. So yeah, I have more than 100 slides of PowerPoint. So I thought maybe later I will do a Power BI admin training some other time since I already recorded everything. Anyway, so let's go to get to our Azure training. So we'll be doing this data protection. So we'll talk about data replication and file folder backup and virtual machine backup. So the virtual machine backup will be another video. So for this one, I'm going to do the first two. And if you follow the video, so in module, I think 3 or 5, I forgot. So we generally touched on the not really generally we not briefly we touched the backup service, not really backup service, storage service in Azure. So there's some terms already familiar here. So there's the for example, local redundant, zone redundant, and geo redundant. We talk about what are those, so you should be familiar with those. All right, so let's get down to the actual talking of that. The data in your or my Azure storage account is always replicated to ensure durability and high availability, right? So you can see there's by default it's local redundant. You cannot say, okay, I don't want any redundant service here, so you must choose one, right? So the Azure storage replication copies your data so that is protected from planned or unplanned events ranging from transient hardware failure or network failure or power outage on a natural disaster like earthquake or meteor or zombies. But the possibility of zombies I think is very low, and others. So you can choose to replicate your data within the same data center and across zone data centers or within the same region or even across regions. So that's the three options we have here, right? The replication ensures that your storage account meets your SLA for storage even in the face of failures. So uh, the question I got asked most is, are there any cost to changing my account's replication strategy, right? So we say here we have the local one, but for example, later on I want to switch the geo redundant or switch to the read access, read only geo redundant. So is there any cost? So it depends on your conversation path. Ordering from the cheapest to the most expensive redundancy offering Azure has the this four options, right? Actually there's supposed to zone redundant here. It's not listed. So for example, going from the local redundant to anything will incur additional charges because you are going to more sophisticated in redundancy level, higher level in a way. So going to the GRS or read access GRS will occur in the egress bandwidth charge because your data is being replicated to remote secondary location. So this is one-time charge at the initial step. After data is copied, there are no further conversation charge. So you will only be charged for the replicating any new or updating the existing data. For details on bandwidth charges, there's the Azure storage pricing page where you can browse. So if you change from GRS to LRS, there's no additional cost. But your replicate data is deleted from the secondary location. I think that makes sense, right? So you choose not to replicate to another region, so you want to stay in the local region, right? So that's why the data in that region is deleted. So let's go to the details of each of those redundant surveys, right? The LRS, locally redundant storage, right? Let me drink water first. Right, so the local redundant storage provides at least, if you're familiar with the term, it's 11 nines, right? So we in the uh, high availability, we talk about how many nines, right? The 11 nines, which means there's only few seconds of, or even less, I think few seconds of unavailable time for your data. So durability of objects over a given year. So the ARS provides the object durability by replicating your data to a storage scale unit. A data center located in the region where you created your storage account hosts the storage scale unit. A write request to an LS storage account returns successfully only after the data is written to all replicas. Each replica resides in a separate fault domain and upgrade domain, which is a storage scale unit. So if you're still remembering what we talked about the fault domain and upgrade domain, right? So you can go back to the videos and check those out, or you can just Google it, just refresh your knowledge. So a storage scale unit is a collection of racks of storage nodes. The LS is the lowest cost replication option and offers the least durability compared to the other options, even though there's 11 nines, right? So if a data center level disaster, so fire, flooding, or meteor occurs, all the replicas may be lost or be unrecoverable since they're only there. So to mitigate this risk, Microsoft recommends you see either zone redundant storage or geo redundant storage. But I think it's highly unlikely, right? So the one of the data center is totally destroyed. So, and this comes a question where people ask, what about my Office 365 data, right? So, how's my Office 365 data stored? So they are not the LS option, right? So for my knowledge, they are scaled to 2 or 3 data centers. So you don't have to worry about one of the data center get destroyed, so your data is lost, right? They are scaled into different data centers. So if your application stores data that can be easily reconstructed if data loss occurs, you may opt for the LS. Some applications are restricted to replicating data only within a country due to the governance requirements or like the GDPR. So I recently the Power BI, actually the Power BI customer I was doing, they have this issue when they're doing their SQL servers, right? So they said their data cannot leave the country. So they have this how long discussion on that. So just for some reference. So in some cases, the paired regions across which the data is replicated for the GRS accounts may be in another country, right? So, if you want to look for more information on paired regions, you can go to the other regions page. So the RS, we talk about the lowest option for protecting your data, also the default one for hardware failures. So if a data center level disaster occurs, all the replicates may be lost and unrecoverable, blah, blah, blah. However, the LRS may be appropriate in this scenario. So we talk about it's the worst one. Out of the 4 is the worst choice. But if your application stores data that can be easily reconstructed if data loss occurs, you may opt for LRS. And another one is some applications are restricted to replicate that data only within a country due to data governance requirements, right? Just to repeat those two, because they're nowadays it's very important, right? Since we got the privacy issue all around the world, stuff from Facebook. And the ZRS, zone redundant, right? This one we didn't see the following previous slides in the option, but it is there. So the ZRS synchronizingly replicates your data across 3 storage cluster in a single region. So this is important, right? It's not in the same data center. It's across 3 storage cluster in a single region. Each storage cluster is physically separated from the others and resides in its own availability zone. Now we talk about the availability zone, which is also available before in previous sessions. So each availability zone and the ZRS cluster within it, it's autonomous. With separate utilities and networking capabilities, storing your data in a ZRS account ensures that you will be able to access and manage your data if a zone becomes unavailable. So the ZRS provides excellent performance and low latency. So one of the better options, and I have to say it's most popular one. So here are the few more things you need to know about ZRS. So ZRS is not yet available in all regions. Some regions are not available, so changing to ZRS from another data replication option requires the physical data movement from a single storage stamp to multiple stamps within a region. And the ZRS may not protect your data against a regional disaster. So you can imagine, so you store your data in let's West US and Central US or another place, right? But they're still within the same region. But what if it's a whole region your earthquake is unfortunately destroyed, so hopefully it won't happen, right? We haven't seen that happen for years. So then that will become unavailable. But again, that's very unlikely. Because for local, you can imagine it's 11.9, so you can you can also calculate the probability of three region go down at the same three data center go down at the same time. So it's 11 nines times 3, right? Triple that. So it's very unlikely. So what happens when a zone becomes unavailable, right? Your data is still accessed for both read and write operations, even a zone becomes unavailable. So the Microsoft recommends you continue to follow the practice for transient fault handling. This practice include implementing retry policies with exponential backup with the zone is unavailable. Azure undertakes networking upgrades such as DNS repointing. These updates may affect your replication if you are accessing your data before the upgrade having complete. The DRS may not protect your data against the regional disaster we talk about, right? Where it's permanently affected. Instead, DRS offers resiliency for your data if it becomes temporarily unavailable, you know, etc., etc. So GO, the most, let's see, the most expensive one, yeah, and it's the most uh, you know, available, high availability one. So this is a default and recommended replication option, and it's sometimes called the cross-region application if you're watching other videos. So the GRS replicates your data to a secondary region. So what that means is if your data is in US, it replicates to Europe or Asia. So there are hundreds of miles away from the primary location of the source data. So hundreds of miles. Remember, it's not necessarily from the US to Europe. GRS costs more than ARS, but GRS provides a higher level of durability for our data. So this is actually 16 nines. So imagine that's I don't know, like literally several seconds a year, or just a couple seconds a year, right, where data can be lost. So let's actually calculate that. I've never uh, be, let's see, it's 0 point uh, times times. So that's how many? Uh, 11 nines. I think I calculated wrong. So that's how many seconds a day, how many seconds a year times this one. So yeah, I think I calculated correctly. But anyway, that's how your data is unaccessible in a year if you choose the GRS, right? So now this seconds, right? I imagine. So it's uh, you know, so therefore I think it's 3 seconds per year where data is lost. So that's very low, right? 3 seconds. You won't even feel that, or no one will feel that actually. So for a storage account with a GRS or read-only GRS, right? There's an option here called the read-only, read access actually. Before it's called read-only. So it's a read access GRS enabled. All your data is first replicated with locally, which is ARS. So they first initiate the ARS. An update at first committed to the primary location and replicate using the ARS. The update is then replicated to the secondary region using GRS. When the data is written to the secondary location, it's also replicated with that location using the ARS. So both the primary and the secondary region manage replicates across separate fault domain and upgrade domains with the storage scale unit. The storage scale unit is the basic replication unit with the data center. Replication at the level is provided by the ARS. Right? So if you opt for the GRS, you have two related options you can choose. The GRS replicates your data to another data center in a secondary region, but that data is available to be read only if Microsoft initiates a failover from the primary to secondary region. Right? The read access geo-redundant storage is based on the GRS. The RA GRS replicates your data to another data center in a secondary region and also provides you with the option to read from the secondary region. So with RAGRS, you can read from the secondary read regardless of whether Microsoft initiates a failover from the primary to the secondary. So for here, I think you should have a clear mind that it's Microsoft manage your failover, but you cannot access it unless you choose the read access, right? I think that makes sense. So yeah, so all of this maintains 6 copies of our data, so you don't have to worry about anything get lost. And it also doesn't say here all the slides, so it's actually encrypted using different keys. So so even the hacker obtain one key, they cannot access all of the copies, right? So you don't have to worry. They can maybe they can access one of the copy, but they cannot change anything because you got 6 copies, and you don't have to worry about anything. Hey, and let's compare the replication strategy, right? I have 4 here, so the local one is for node unavailable within a data center. Yes, for all. And if an entire data center become unavailable, so only the ZRS, RHS can protect your data. And region-wide, it's only the geo-redundant can provide with availability. And read access, only the last one. So the available in the storage account types, so listed here. So I won't go over this, but here you know that read access geo redundancy is the best choice. So that's how Microsoft selling that. With that, actually, let's go over here. Let me refresh this, see if my domain controller is up. Not really domain controller, my machine is up. It's for needs for the demo later. Just make sure it's up and running. Okay, it's running. So let's go to the storage account. Right, so I have several here. If you create a new one, right, you can see here that's the option. Right, locally redundant, geo-redundant, and read access only. So that's what I say here. Not everything it's available to all the regions, right? So let me change. Actually, see now this one has zone redundant, right? So you have to be careful with that. So not every region got all 4 options. So you have to uh, read carefully. So the one I have initial is which one? West US? Okay, yeah, West US I don't have all 4, right? So and even the location is not too much to worry about. If you are in the US, you got really fast internet to access. But if you're out of the US, any latency, any ping packet, if you ping the data center, if it's greater than 200 milliseconds, it's okay. So per Microsoft standard, it's okay. You don't have to worry about anything. So, but for U.S. government, not U.S. For U.S. folks, you have more privilege compared to us, bandwidth-wise, right? Okay. All right. So now let's go to the next one. So there is no demo here. We're gonna do some demo in the lesson 2, file and folder backups. All right. So with that, let me actually turn on my machine first to make sure it's up. Let me type in my password. Drag it here. Okay, will still be here anyway. Right, we'll talk about the backup options here. So recovery service vault backup options. I'm gonna do a demo. So and implementing on-premise folders backups, and we will install the Microsoft Azure Recovery Service agent, and another demo for that. All right, Azure Backup. So the Azure Backup is the Azure-based service you can use to backup or protect the, depend on your preference, and restore your data in the Microsoft Cloud. The Azure Backup replicates your existing on-premises or off-site backup solution with a cloud-based solution that is reliable, secure, and cost competitive. All those nice words. Azure Backups offer the multiple components that you download and deploy on the appropriate computer, server, or in the cloud itself. The component or reagent that you are deployed depends on what you want to protect. All Azure Backup components, so no matter whether you are protecting data on premises or in the cloud, can be used to back up data to a recovery service vault in Azure. Remember, it's the recovery service vault, right? Okay, so let's go to the screenshot of that. So the recovery service vault is the storage entity that Azure that hosts data. The data is typically all copies of data or configuration information of virtual machines, workload servers, or workstations. You can use the recovery service vault to hold backup data for various of Azure services, such as your virtual machine, Linux, Windows, and SQL database. Recovery Service Vault support System Center DPM, Windows Server, Azure Backup Server, and etc. etc. So the vault makes it easy to organize and backup your data while minimizing management overhead. So per my experience, it is really convenient compared to any on-prem infrastructure you may deploy. Essentially, I mean, it's cloud, right? That's all the benefit you have. So here we can see the options you have. For backup, you have the Azure File Share. It's in preview, and until next day, it's still in preview. Virtual machine, Azure File Share, or SQL Server. Remember, it's a SQL Server in Azure VM, and it's no longer preview now, I think. But yeah, it's SQL Server in Azure VM, not SQL Server itself. And for on-prem, so this is the option if you select Azure or you choose on-prem, right? So you have the file and folders. This actually we're gonna use this one as a demo. SharePoint, Exchange, System State, Bare Meta, Recovery, SQL Server, etc., etc. Right. So to implement this is the fourth step, right? You create the recovery service vault, download the agent and credential file. We're gonna actually do the demo with that, and install, register the agent, and configure the backup. The configure the backup is mainly like which place for your source you want to back up and the frequency you want to back it up, like daily or weekly or monthly. And this is the Mars agent, right? So the screenshot of that. We're gonna install this later. Actually, I was trying to do this and I actually do the recording of this video yesterday, but I forgot. Oh shit, everything is in Chinese. The agent here is Chinese, so I said, okay, no, I have to because my system is in Chinese, so I have to use the Azure, turn on my virtual machine, and spend some of my allowance because it's English OS, and change that because there's no options for me to change the language here. Right, so yeah, that's why I have to redo the video. Okay, so yeah. Uh, So there is no separate backup server required. Only this is needed, and no application where file, folder, and volume level restore. It's a file, folder, and volume level restore only. So not supported for Linux, unfortunately. All right, so let's do the demo, right? So the video gonna finish actually in 30 minutes. It's fantastic. So let me go to here actually first. So you have to go to this. Let me discard this. This recovery service vault here. You have to create a vault first. So I already created here. I think it's this one. But anyhow, let's create a new one. So you should be really familiar with everything here, right? So you need to choose subscription resource group and give it a name. And you can automate everything as well, right? Download template for automation. We did the thing here, so you can choose. We choose a recovery, right? So enter the name, so it's demo and the region. So there's nothing fancy here, right? There are no other options we can choose from. So let me close this. What we're gonna do now is we'll ask you to download something here. So we go to the backup. We can click here or click here, doesn't matter, right? We click backup. And yeah, where we want to back up from. So Azure Stack, or on-premises. So this one is not my knowledge scope. I don't go over that. Basically, what is Azure Stack? It's a hybrid cloud, so it's not Azure itself. So you can that's for enough. So you can choose on-premises or Azure, right? So if it's Azure, you have the three. So Azure File Share, Virtual Machine, or SQL Server in Azure VMC. This one's not no longer a preview. So you can choose File Share. We click Backup. So I don't think I believe I have one yet. There's no silicon that's be backed in this vault, so we close that. So actually, I don't want to demo the one with Azure. Just we browse the options here. So we're gonna do is use the on-prem that I have here, right? So I have created a. Let me open this first actually, and I have a folder. I think it's in C drive, demo B. So version one. Yeah, this is my file, right? Anyway, so I'm gonna close this first. Actually, drag it here, not close it. I want to bucket the files and folders, right? And start preparation, prepare infrastructure. So you're gonna download the agent for Windows Server or Windows Client first, which is the, let me open this again. So go to the download folder. This is I downloaded two actually. This one here, right? You can download the agent, and once you download, you don't have to install it first, right? There's no hurry in just right away just install that. You can hold that. What you're gonna do is after you already download using the latest Replication Service agent, which is the same thing, right? So you click this and you don't click this again. That way you will trigger another download with the same file. If you're not the latest one, then don't matter. So you click this download button. What's this gonna do is it will download uh, this one here, the vault credential, right? You will download the vault credential, which you're going to use in the agent, right? So after that, what you do is it will start. You install the agent, right? It's a whole process which we don't go over here. Just click, pretty much click next, next, next. But if you do have some settings in your facility, right? As for example, you have a proxy server, right? So you do have to change something here, right? And they will ask you to for a passphrase, and it will be minimum 16 characters. So one of the steps is you have to do a passphrase, and I prefer you generate the passphrase from here because it's 16 characters long. I don't believe any characters you remember will be that long, right? Just let it generate and save the file somewhere else. So if you have the proxy server settings, anything, you just uh, configure that. Okay, I didn't configure this, but don't change passphrase. Okay, sorry. So you have to provide the information for the proxy server and throttling. If you want to limit that, right? For my it's a demo environment, so I don't want to do any of those. So that's pretty much all of your configuration gonna do. So what you're gonna do here is a register server, right? So you're gonna choose a location where you want to do the backup. So I don't want to do here. Uh, you're gonna choose. So this is also in the initial setup page. You have to, let's say, choose the vault credential, click next, choose the passphrase that is generated or not, and configure the server registration, right? So I'm gonna close this. So that's all of the steps you have to do during the initial setup. But I don't want to install this thing again because I already have it here, right? Okay, so what we're gonna do is click back, no, schedule a backup, right? Okay, so I already selected one. It's my C drive, right? So it's a file here, Windows C, this one, right? I registered this source. So modify or not. So yeah, let's add something, right? So let's add something, save. So it's necessary modify. So what I'm doing here, the demo is more likely like a version in OneDrive or SharePoint, right? I change something and restore to a previous version. It's more like that, but you can delete the file or do anything you want with that, so it doesn't matter. Okay, we for this we just do that, right? So okay, let's click next to backup file items or stop backup schedules. Let's do here. Right, you can choose a day or week, right? What time, and it's uh, yeah, so you can do it every 2 or 3 or 4 weeks, and the day you want to specify. And retain backup copies in where and when, right? You can choose and confirmation, etc., etc. So that's everything you have to configure about. So what are we gonna do here, right? So we have this file, and just click backup now, right? So you don't have to wait for the actual schedule to happen, right? So you have to wait. Oh, it's have to wait for 12:30 to have. You don't have to. You can click backup now. So just click backup now. File folders in this folder. Yes, gonna backup now. Taking snapshot of volumes. So even it's a 1 KB file, it still takes uh, a minute, I guess. Okay, I think it's gonna be finished real quick. Okay, it's complete. Now close. Okay, fantastic. You can see now the actual time, right? So it's the virtual machine time, not my actual time. I'm actually gonna sleep later. So yeah, it's complete. So what we're gonna do now is let's delete the file, shall we? So we go to the C drive. We delete the file, right? Okay, it's deleted. What we're gonna do now is recover data. We click recover. It's on this server, yeah, dc.sui.com, and into file folders, yes. So the C drive, I have two ones, so I select this one, right? I just backed up. Mount. Well, mount another drive, and here's the tricky part. Let's wait it until mount first, right? It's will mount a drive, but it's not giving me back the file, right? It's not, okay, I put the file back, right? It's not that. That is I recover from my recycle bin, right? So it's this one. It's not like I put the file back. It's mount it to another drive where you have to put the data somewhere else. You have to copy the data out to somewhere else, right? Otherwise, if you choose unmount, it's gone, right? It doesn't put the data back into the original location. I don't know why it's getting slow here. So just wait. I think it's gonna mount to a E drive or something because CD and E, right? So it's gonna mount to a E drive. All right, see, recovery volume is E, and you have to choose browse. Don't click unmount. Click browse. See, it's a E drive, right? So click here. Version one, it's got my 789, right? So that's the file. So you have to know if I click to my C drive again, see, it doesn't put the file back, right? So what you're gonna do is you copy the file back to its, oops, here, right? You copy the file back. Uh, okay, here, restored. All good, right? It's from 1210, right? It could take 1 minute for it to back up. So now you close this and you click unmount, right? There's no other option. Click unmount. Sure you want unmount and enter current recovery. If you click yes, notice that one is gone, right? I have it's not there anymore. So if you do not copy your file back, you don't thought, okay, just give the recovery service give me another drive. It's not that, right? It just give you temporary, you can say it's a temporary storage somewhere where you can get back your data. And yeah, like here. So yes, that's the process and that's the demo for this session. So we're gonna continue the Azure virtual machine backup in the next session. Right? Thanks for watching, and I apologize not to upload the videos for 2 weeks.